I'm delighted for this AMA to have Evgeny from Wintermute to kind of speak to us today and answer questions a little bit about kind of Evgeny's background. So originally he studied in Moscow at the Higher School of Economics, specializing in finance before doing a master's at Maastricht University. He then worked for a number of years. I don't want to say many years because you're not an old chap, but for a number of years at Optiver, which for those who don't know is one of the kind of leading high frequency trading firms in the world, specializing kind of in ETFs. And Evgeny was actually head of ETF business expansion by the time he left, based out of kind of Amsterdam. And in 2017, which is a very good time to found a crypto company, I'm sure we'll talk about timing crypto a little bit later, he founded Wintermute, which at this point is one of the largest kind of market makers in crypto. And recently, for those of you that are kind of following closely, well, January, I guess January isn't that recently, but 6 months ago, 5 months ago, they secured a 20 million Series B, led by Lightspeed and with participation from the likes of Pantera and many other funds, which I really think kind of puts them at the forefront of the market making, particularly kind of algorithmic liquidity provision in the industry. And Evgeny's going to share thoughts today, and hopefully we're going to have a good one. So just a quick thing on etiquette, guys. If you want to ask, I'm going to ask some questions to get the conversation started, and then I'm handing over to you to ask whatever you want. If you want to ask a question face to face, camera on, please raise your hand. I believe one goes to reactions and then raise hand, and that will give you a little kind of hand, and you can kind of ask a question directly and we'll kind of get to you. Or if you want to put a question into chat, that's absolutely fine. One of our team will read that out for you. Just put it in chat. There is a nice chat button, which should be top right, but if you can't see it, if you go to, where is it? There should be a pop-out that says chat. I'm going to leave that to you because my chat is very much there and I don't want to lose it. So you can put a question there to everyone. But Evgeny, welcome. Great to have you. How are you doing today? You're muted. You're muted.
Yeah, great. Yeah. Thanks a lot for having me.
And where are you based at the moment?
London. Yeah, pretty much always in London.
Excellent. So I guess, so we always start with a very standard question, which is when you were at university, what did you want to do and how has the kind of plan unfolded based on what you wanted to do?
Yeah, very, very tricky actually, like, because no, I would say like the first 2-3 years, I did not do much like in terms of like proper careers or anything. I was focusing more like metaphysical stuff, like searching my soul, what I want to do in general, but not in a very serious way. But like as I was approaching like end of my bachelor studies, and especially once I moved to Maastricht, I started like thinking, okay, what I actually want to do. And it all kind of focused on finance, and as well quite a few like interesting things for me. Like first of them being math in general, because like I was really big fan of everything mathematical, and finance is all about math. Like especially when it comes to like complex derivatives and bond pricing, all kinds of like models for valuing stocks and everything. Like yeah, basically it was like really fit my just inner in interest in a way. And then but then second thing was I guess it was about like me trying to understand what's out there in the financial world, and it was about me reading all kinds of books about it, like stuff like Liar's Poker, for instance, about like bomb traders in 80s, or Barbarians at the Gate, which is much more like about early days of investment banking. It all really got me into like really wanting to work in finance. And I guess like the initial idea was very sort of selfish, because like all those books were about all those like financial types making a lot of money. Yeah. And I thought, okay, that actually sounds like really nice. So you come work for pretty much any job in finance, you make a lot of money, you work like you do what you like, and yeah, it actually sounds awesome. But what was even more curious to me is that a lot of those books, they always ended up with the protagonist being like disenchanted by a world of finance, like making a lot of money, and then just, yeah, I cannot do it anymore and leave. And I was like, yeah, why would you ever want to do that? Like, if you're making whatever millions every year, yeah, you probably want to continue until you just have enough. Well, you probably just want to continue forever. And I think, like for me, that was one of the key reasons I actually just wanted to join one of the financial firms and see for myself like whether I'll end up with the same fate as as all those people in the books. And that's basically how I applied to Optiver, and yeah, that's how my journey in finance started in the first place.
And one kind of quite famous book is The Big Short, which obviously talks about how it kind of describes in detail what happened in the financial crash and what was going on behind the scenes. And you joined at a very interesting time, 2006 to 2008. So your first 2 years were probably just the kind of, well, really in the middle of the financial crisis. Were you kind of, when you got into the industry, were you thinking, Jesus, what have I done here? Like, I've joined at like the worst moment? Or did you feel kind of fairly insulated from what was going on?
No, it was kind of like basically working for a market maker, and Optiver is basically one of the leading market makers in traditional finance. Like you're basically in the middle of it, but you are not like, well, you're definitely not the cause of it, and you're also in a pretty good position to profit from it, because all market makers are making a lot of money on volatility, and basically 2008 has been a record year back then for pretty much any market maker who stayed alive.
Interesting.
And for me, because I was still a trainee, it was basically perfect background for me to learn, perfect background for me to do new things. And also because like Optiver was way smaller back then, I was actually kind of left to my own to do a lot of things, experiments, and so I learned a lot. I made like a lot of mistakes as well, but it was really great timing to be a trainee actually. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. It feels like you moved quite quickly, like head of ETFs in 2009. What do you think particular skills you had at that time led to your kind of, well, maybe it wasn't fast growth, but it looks like fast growth. What do you think in particular kind of skill set you brought to it that kind of made you stand out?
I think it was a combination of just me, because basically when I joined, like the ETF desk was not very big. Like it was just like one man desk at Optiver, it was actually like half a desk even. And so it was a combination of like there being a lot of potential, because ETFs at Optiver were not big, and ETFs in general was not like a huge market yet. And at the same time, Optiver being back then very entrepreneurial, like still very small organization without too much of a like control functions breathing down your neck trying to tell you what to do. So it was like a combination of me like really wanting to do new things and basically expanding. Like when I inherited the ETF desk from a guy who left, there was like 20 ETFs we traded, and then I just started adding stuff more and more and more. And it was actually during 2008 and later 2009, and then so I had like grew it to 100 ETFs, and I added like, I don't know, short and leveraged products, and then I added like equity sector products, and it just continued growing and like getting more and more people, and it just like it was a nice coincidence, I guess, of both company allowing me to grow, but also me wanting to grow. So it's
Yes. And so it sounds like everything was going well. Market making is fairly insulated from market conditions, it sounds like. So in 2017, which is kind of the height of really the previous bubble, well, almost the height, you decide to kind of start Wintermute. So I want to ask a kind of question before that, which is, what was drawing you to crypto? Was it the kind of lack of sophistication and the kind of ability to bring your practices to crypto? Was there something else? What kind of drew you to crypto in the first place?
I think it was I mean, I think very initially I went in crypto for technology. I mean, it's a bit of a meme in crypto, but yeah, I was totally in it for tech initially, and I started reading about it in like 2015, 2016, and for me it was primarily first like blockchain, not Bitcoin. Like I didn't care about Bitcoin. I thought, okay, it's just like whatever, some speculative stuff, bubble or whatever. But blockchain as technology sounded really cool, and it was primarily because I have this, like when you work in traditional finance, you understand how things work, and you understand like how many intermediaries, for instance, there are. Like, and every single one of those intermediaries, they like take a bit for themselves. And you just understand how inefficient it is, and also like a lot of those intermediaries are just like really old school with really horrible technology, and getting rid of them is just making the whole market much more efficient in a way. But it's basically pretty much impossible to get rid of them, because it's just like the whole system is based on these legacy players, and blockchain effectively allows you to do exactly that.
Well, I think we need to mute someone. Yeah. I've done it. Sorry. I was like, where is this noise coming from? Continue. Sorry.
Yeah. And so I think initially it was just the desire to, well, basically join like this technology movement, which would just make everything more efficient. And that's kind of like another thing that I quite enjoy about doing myself, is just like building the systems which scale, build the systems that replace previously inefficient systems.
Fantastic. So you set up Wintermute in 2017. This was a great time to kind of get involved, but you obviously immediately we had probably 2.5 years of kind of it not going so well. How did you, given market conditions, which maybe didn't matter, what was the journey like in building Wintermute? Who were the kind of main kind of key partners there? How did you grow the business? Did you go after exchanges? Were you working mainly with funds on the OTC side? How did you go about growing the business in the first few years?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, just like any entrepreneurial journey, you start with the founders, I guess. And from that perspective, I did the things that make sense the most. And it's kind of makes sense to team up with people who you already know and who you trust and who you know quite well. And like Optiver, still to this day, it's a company of very bright people, very smart people. And so basically, my two co-founders, Hara and Johan, were both from Optiver, and Hara was on the technology side, Johan was more on business development side. And so basically, so it was me and Hara first, and we took Johan a bit later on board as well. And the initial idea, it was kind of funny, what we started with, because and I guess it's kind of like a lesson I'd like to share with everyone as well. It's like my initial assumption was we'll start this market making firm. We're probably going to start, and our technology is going to be horrible because everyone is already should be like super advanced in terms of like technology and how they do things. So we'll just start with some niche where nobody is looking at yet, and hope that like we can develop our tech fast enough to compete with everyone else. And looking backwards, actually, I think we should have started right away with competing with all the big guys, because everyone's technology was horrible, and it was just like big enough space to participate with everyone. But basically, what we started with was like, there was this wave of ICOs in 2017, or this project that started getting listed on exchanges, started like pumping their prices a lot. And our first sort of idea was approach those ICOs and tell them, okay, like we're going to make your markets efficient on all different exchanges. We're going to provide liquidity, and basically at the same time do it in a ethical way. So we're not going to like pump and dump your tokens. We're not going to create artificial volume like we knew a lot of other market makers are doing. And that was like our value proposition. So the trick was like when we started doing it, it was basically it was 2018, and then it kind of everything started dying together with ICOs. And basically by the time we got our first clients, it was not a good time to be in this space. And so we actually had to pivot into started doing normal trading in like all the like top 10, top 20 cryptos by market cap, and that's actually when we started growing properly.
Excellent. And I'm going to start to try and take some questions from the chat now. And I think this kind of is an obvious one to start from John here, is do you think the quality of professional traders in crypto is below that of the traditional markets? I think there's a few things we can unpack here, but what do you think of the quality of trading and investment in general by crypto players?
I think if you look at all the top players and like top trading firms, they're actually all coming from traditional markets. They're all like coming from there. Like it's close to impossible to start your own trading firm without proper background. Like if you just started with general understanding of coding, but without any understanding of markets, especially without any experience in real markets and traditional markets, it's going to be tough because you just don't know a lot of stuff, especially about the risk side of things. So I would say the quality of traders in crypto is pretty high in top firms.
Very good. And let's keep taking questions from the chat. This might take us a bit off topic, but that's okay. The first question here from Flora: why did you move to Maastricht in particular for your masters? What was it about their program which you really liked?
Yeah, like not for not for any good reasons. Two reasons really. So I started in High School of Economics, which was like it's like a super good university in general still. But back then it was basically the top university for economics, the top university for finance, very mathematical, very, very hardcore in how they approach things. And that was really good for like bachelor degree, but their master degree would take like 2 years. And I knew, because I talked to like a few guys a couple of years, well, 1 year above me, that it's just going to be really, really hardcore math. And that was not anymore the math that I enjoyed, because I didn't really see any value in like applying like differential equations to macroeconomics and anything, because it's not very applicable most of the time. And I just didn't really want to waste my life on this in particular. And Maastricht was 1 year master's program, very much focused on just finance and nothing else. And then, so that's like a sort of a good reason. Like a less nice reason was I missed all the other deadlines. so Maastricht was the only one that was available. By the time I took my GMAT and my whatever English test.
To be fair, Maastricht is a really good place to be. So all's well that ends well. Right, there's a hands up question. Jake from the University of Leeds, recent prize winner in the Encode Hack the System hackathon. Over to you, Jake, to ask your question.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, you mentioned some books before. Do you have any like good book recommendations for anyone who's like from a technical background but not into like algorithmic trading / finance? I don't know if you have any good books.
So like, do you mean more about trading side of things or technology side of things? Because
either or, like yeah, whichever. If you have any.
I would say like so I can recommend stuff about market making in particular. So there is a book, like it's called really weird. It's called Street Freaks by I forgot actually by whom, but it's literally about ETF market making in the US, and it's really hilarious, but it gives you a really good overview into how stuff works in general in trading. And obviously, like for anything high frequency trading related, there is a book by Michael Lewis, Flash Boys, which I don't like in particular because it's very one-sided, but it's still like, if you start approaching this book from idea that it's very one-sided, it actually still gives you a pretty good understanding of how stuff works. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm gonna put those book in chat. Yeah, I was almost gonna mention Flash Boys, and I was like, I don't know. This is probably too stereotypical.
I mean, it explains stuff pretty good, but yeah, it's very one-sided.
It's a Michael Lewis book. Like, he puts a narrative on everything. Okay, yeah. And by the way, if anyone, Michael Lewis books are very good. Big Short, the one I mentioned earlier. Moneyball is a very famous one. Yeah, so do read some Michael Lewis. But good. I love the book question. This is a good one. Well done, Jake. Right. Let's go to next question. Are Wintermute hiring? So that's a nice open-ended one. So are Wintermute hiring?
Yes, we are. No, like
I thought so.
Yeah, look, we are currently just above 30 people. I think it's like 33 or something. And in general, like I think we doubled since a year ago, well, more than doubled since a year ago. And I think we're going to double by the end of the year easily. Because it's not just trading roles, the development roles that we are looking for. We are looking for a lot of like, well, more like operational roles in terms of like middle office or business development, a lot of stuff in just like pure, not like development from like high frequency trade point of view, like C++ guys, but also like front end developers, because we are looking to potentially start building stuff on DeFi, like our own projects. So like on the hiring side, yeah, just visit our website. Like there is a link, and yeah, keep monitoring, because there will be more and more stuff, not just in London, but also in Singapore, and yeah, potentially more locations afterwards.
Absolutely. And yeah, I can only echo that. If anyone wants help with kind of CV development or with crafting their applications, please do let George or I know. We will happily help through the Encode talent arm as well, to kind of get you prepared to get a good job with Wintermute. Excellent. Right. Let's go for Harrison has his hand up. Harrison, over to you, sir.
Yeah. So I was reading on CoinDesk that you guys were growing at a very fast rate, like almost rare for a company that's this old. So I was wondering what differentiates your algorithm from the competition.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's one that it's quite tricky for us to answer because it's kind of confidential. I think it's like I would say our secret sauce in general, like basically about a basic answer is like culture makes a lot of difference in general. So you need to have people who are not just like employed 9 to 5 and code stuff and go home, but like everyone we have is very much invested in the company. Like every single person in the company have shares, for instance, and so there is a lot of alignment. So like there is obviously bonus pool, just like any trading company as well, and it all helps to get this alignment with people. Well, that they're coding not just because they're told to code, but they're coding because they actually want to make money for the company. And this kind of approach, it did help us to focus on the right things last year when the market grew really substantially and actually growing at a pace where we outpaced the market, which by itself was pretty tough actually, because it's one thing to be profitable when it's like quiet and not much happening. It's another thing to make sure that you grow like as much as the market grows in 1 year time. And like we grew like from a capital standpoint, I think we grew 300 times or something since last year. So this is just like really insane growth. And another thing, I guess, is we are not like there are kind of two ways you can approach trading in general.
Did we lose him?
I think he froze. Yeah.
I'm actually like really relieved it's not my Wi-Fi. It's always my Wi-Fi. Yeah, it'll come back. Like, the irony is, they're like, obviously, I assume the Wi-Fi is really good because they're a trading firm. So you're like, oh, this is the first thing you have. Evgeny, you back?
I think it's back now. Yes. Sorry.
Good. Yes.
Go
for it. Oh no, he's gone again. This is where the awkward elevator music comes back on. George, you got any stand-up you could do?
Not a chance.
I'd pay to see it. We'll give it a minute.
Let's try again. Otherwise, I'll just connect up from my phone.
Yeah, you're back now. You're back now. Yeah. Also, Jake, my Wi-Fi is not okay. My Wi-Fi is usually very bad. So, like, again, I'm relieved it's not me. Okay, cool. Are we good? I think you sound crystal clear again. So, sorry, you were. Yeah, so we'll let you finish.
Yeah. So the second thing is like, as a market maker, you can either basically focus on a very niche thing, like I don't know, only trade options, only trade on derivative, or you can focus on as many things as possible. And it's kind of was Optiver way to focus on basically to connect as many liquidity tools as possible, to focus not just on spot but also on derivatives, on OTC, on DeFi. So basically that's pretty much what we did. So we started expanding in all directions. So that really paid well for us.
Excellent. Great question, Harrison. Thank you very much. Right, let's move on to the next question from the chat. Let's see, what do we have here? Okay, we'll take the hiring one. Why not? Does Wintermute hire summer interns?
Yes, we do in London only for now. I think we might be able to. We might be open to hire some people in Singapore as well. But I think we might have. Yeah, I think it's a question to Kat whether we have this. We have those positions on the website, but yes, we do.
Good. Very good. So look on the website, everyone. That's the place to go. Okay, so let's take the next one. To what extent do you think the narrative is true that crypto is just a 24/7 casino? I imagine they're touching on the fact that the kind of main use case still seems to be variations of speculation, not things that have actual kind of usage and kind of value creation. So what do you think about this?
I would say if you look at centralized exchange like Binance, even Coinbase to a big degree, yeah, I mean, it is to a big degree a big casino. When you look at more interesting things like DeFi, basically that's pretty much the difference between the current market cycle and what happened in 2017. 2017 was just like massive casino, like this flow of ICOs and like everything like going 100x. This year, like it happened as well, like all kinds of weird dog tokens went up by ridiculous amounts. But besides that, there is real technology being built on Ethereum, on other chains, which is super, super exciting to look at. And I would actually really encourage everyone on this call and beyond to basically look and start experimenting with different Ethereum protocols, because once you understand like just how much freedom it gives you, how they're different in terms of like that you can do so many things without being like stuck with a with a central provider like in traditional finance, it should properly blow your mind in general. So I think that's a big difference. There is a lot of things that is being built. That's also going up obviously as well. Not recently, but in general, that's like proper technology that has a potential to not just potential. I really believe it will disrupt the like old order.
Very nice. Right, let's take a couple more written questions. We'll go to some more hands up questions. What do you think about the ethics of practices by exchanges, and I'm going to add protocols, when listing and promoting tokens? I think this is where I'm going to like, there's obviously be careful what to say. Yeah, like, let's speak philosophically.
No, look, exchanges are, especially centralized exchanges, are there to list stuff that people want to trade. Like obviously it's nice that they don't list stuff which is obvious scam, and like all the key centralized exchanges generally don't do that. But sometimes they just don't know, especially if the market is hot. They are under pressure to add stuff that people want to trade. And if you look at whatever Twitter accounts of most of like exchanges, every post they make, like people start posting like when this token. So they are under like quite a bit of pressure. Like, and you see even like exchanges like Coinbase, they also list stuff that like some might consider to be maybe overly speculative, like dog stocks. But then again, yeah, currently their customers in US, for instance, they just cannot access them. So like from philosophical standpoint, should they be, yeah, so it's more like libertarian like a kind of question, right? Should exchanges be like guardians of what people are doing on them, or should they just allow people being people, and like if they make mistakes by investing into some like safe moon, I don't know, whatever, okay, let them fail. And I'm kind of leaning towards the second bit, that yeah, people should be just allowed to make mistakes, and I'm quite against any kind of regulations that protects people, because yeah, people should take responsibility for their actions in general. And yeah, that's my view, I would say.
Absolutely. Last written question before we take some more hands up questions. What are your favorite crypto projects? Yeah, which are your favorite?
That's actually much tougher than the previous question, because yeah,
it's much tough. This is like the open-ended ones are like always tough, because like, yeah, but okay, a nicer way. What name some cool ones you like? This is the better way.
Well, in general, like anything on Ethereum, like is really cool to play with. Like, well, from pretty much any AMM, like being whatever Uniswap or Bank or Balance or Curve, like just to try them out. It's already a really interesting concept. From the, like, we are really good friends with DYDX, for instance. DYDX is one of the, basically like one of the first decentralized exchanges with central order book, and they're now on layer 2, which allows them to actually like not paying super high gas fees for their users. So like it scales really well, and we are supporting them a lot. So, and we're also investor in them. So just full disclosure on that, in that regards. I'm also very like, one theme that's really interesting for me personally is this, basically kind of going full circle to my previous life, is crypto ETFs, and there are quite a few projects in cryptocurrency space that are basically doing crypto ETFs, and those things are also super cool, because they basically make those smart contracts which effectively contain other tokens in them, and you can do a lot of really cool things with them. You can basically vote with those protocols tokens for protocol votes of the underlying basket tokens. You can receive like passive income because you can like lend them from inside the smart contract to like lending protocols like Arvo, compounds. Like there's really a lot you can do, and I'm actually quite excited about them. And yes, I think there are like 4 that we're working with quite closely. It's basically PyDAO, PowerPool, Index Finance, and Indexcorp. So those 4 are like, I would say, like, watch them closely, and especially if you look at it like investing and you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, like, look at their products, because it's quite interesting to diversify effectively, because that's literally what ETFs are supposed to do.
I'm a big fan of PyDAO. Mick is a good friend. He is a very smart chap. Excellent. Cool. Let's do some hands up questions. So Danny from our team, but he also runs the Omaha blockchain initiative. So he's very much representing Omaha. So Danny, over to you to ask your question, sir.
Thank you, Anthony. So with the crypto market, a lot more volatile than traditional finance markets and open 24/7. Does this have any impact on market making in the crypto markets, and how does it differ from traditional finance?
Yeah, so I guess the first thing is kind of on the personal side is just it is 24/7, so you need to reorganize your life quite a bit, because you need to work like in traditional markets at Optiver, like markets open at 9, then they close at 5:30, and then like you can do some analysis like post-trade analysis, but then just go home or you hang out with your friends, and that's it. Like there's not much you can do on the trading side. Or sometimes like your like evening shift and markets close at 10 still. And weekends are off limits, like there are like holidays and like Christmas and whatever, 1st of May, when exchanges are closed. Crypto is just 24/7, and you have all kinds of things that can happen on any moment. Like you might have like, I don't know, 1-inch release in that token on Christmas Day, for instance. Those fun things. And I know people like launching something in Asia and not caring about New Year or Christmas or anything else, and vice versa, people doing something in the West not caring about like Chinese New Year. Like basically it just happens. And especially last year, it was pretty much like a massive marathon from last July, when it was like what was so-called DeFi summer, till pretty much now, when it's finally quiet from trading perspective, even though there's like some market moves, but it's much more quiet compared to like a month ago, and we actually finally can like breathe in and chill a bit to a degree. But yeah, you just need to reorganize. You need to make sure that like you have some people who are working on the weekends and they're fine with it. You have some people who are covering night shifts, and that's like one of the reasons we have a Singapore office as well. So yeah, you need to be like very flexible how you live your life now.
Very nice, thank you, Danny. I definitely remember that 1-inch that 1-inch airdrop. I was very much up to like very late, like watching the wallets move. That was a very clever marketing trick on their part. Excellent. Right, let's take a written question again. So where are we at? God, lots of questions. What's the best trading advice you ever received? That's an interesting one.
Wow. Yeah, good one. I think in general, I really don't know. I guess like it's less of a trading advice, more like culture thing that was adopted, and I kind of took with me to Wintermute, and it's about being very open about accepting your mistakes, I guess, because like I remember very, very vividly, like it was like one of the few weeks at Optiver actually where it was like organized as a trainee group. So you were like one trainee group and another trainee group starting in like 1 month's time. And basically the trainee group before us, like they were going through some kind of training, and the guy basically, he made some training mistakes and then he tried to hide them, and it didn't really end up really good for him. And so he was basically fired in sports, like, and the head of trading back then, Hans, he basically just made a whole big speech about like, look, it's totally fine to lose money. It's sometimes even fine to lose it twice, but like, yeah, if you just lie about it, it just never gonna end up well for you. And so it's kind of like the culture that's like not lying to others, obviously, it's pretty obvious, but also not lying to yourself about making mistakes. So if you lose money, just like turn things off, think about stuff, recuperate, and then go back into trading, trying to learn the lesson. But yeah, don't double up, don't always have like a better plan, and yeah, if things go wrong, just turn it off and think about it.
Very nice. Another question here from Max. I actually really like this question. Thoughts on whether Tether poses significant systemic risk to crypto? And if I can add my own, whether stable coins in general might pose a systemic risk to crypto. What do you think?
So stable coins, no, well, I would say even Tether not anymore, I would say. So if tomorrow, I don't know, somehow US government cracks down on Tether and destroys them utterly, it's going to be a big disruption. Like the market's going to go down quite a bit. But like compared to, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, we actually would all survive, because exchanges most reliant on Tether these days are primarily Asian exchanges like Binance, Huobi, OKX. Western exchanges are not really reliant on it anymore. DeFi is also not reliant on it anymore. So like a lot of ecosystem will actually be totally fine. Just going to be pretty big disruption, because it's like over 60 billion now in Tether issued. So it's going to be quite tricky, and like we probably would see quite a few people like losing a lot of money. But crypto as an asset class, crypto as ecosystem will survive, especially as the DeFi side of it. And in general, like, yeah, I have a very mixed opinion about stablecoins, because I think in short to mid term, they're really great. And it's really great that they exist, and actually there's actually a potential to disrupt things like PayPal and companies like this. But in the long run, like everyone who is really in crypto, because of this idea of disintermediation to governments, like we should not be dependent on dollars that much, and pretty much all stablecoins are linked to dollars, so we are kind of like dollarizing the whole world even more with this concept of stablecoins, which I think we should be more conscious of.
Yes, and just one to kind of flag for those of you that want inspiration who are hacking at the moment. We've actually seen 2 stablecoins come out of Encode hackathons in the last year, Reflexer Labs and Float Protocol. I think it Reflexes thing as well, that are both trying to move away from this kind of dollar dominance. So I don't know if it's an Encode thing that we seem to encourage them to do that, but I think maybe good fortune that 2 stablecoins have come out recently out of our ecosystem, but a very good point. Okay, over to another video question. Fraser from the University of Edinburgh, also recent hackathon prize winner. So Fraser, whenever you, oh, look at that background. That is not Scotland. That can't be Scotland. Yeah, over to you, sir.
It's Portugal.
I was going to say, like, this is not Scotland.
Yeah, go out here.
This is great. Go on.
Yeah, I use it whenever I can. Yeah, no, I was wondering, maybe a bit off topic, but I was kind of looking at your LinkedIn, and there's quite a nice like progression of like university, masters, trainee, trader, and then head of this, and I'm CEO. And I was kind of wondering, like, looking back on that, was there anything that you wish you had done that might have like helped boost your career? Something that like maybe would be useful for somebody who's just starting it like me. And also just specifically, was a master's helpful, because that's kind of my next stage, and I'm not sure whether I should do it or not. Thank you.
Yeah, like let's start with the second one, because like, well, to go more chronologically then. So I would say you probably see a lot of like advice in general for people to drop out of universities as soon as possible, not go into universities at all. I would say like I probably don't support it, because universities are pretty cool. Like you build like pretty good personal skills. You build a lot of knowledge as well. And I think it's, for most people, it's the right choice to do. Whether a master's degree is the right choice for most people to do, that's already a bit more questionable. So like I would say, if you have like a really good idea what you want to do, I would probably encourage to like try it straight after uni and just go into it, because like the first 10 years after leaving university is probably the other years where you should actually take risks, because they don't cost you much. Like you might like end up failing, but it's not gonna cost you that much, especially if you're in like a startup environment. One thing I would say, like I regret, I would probably regret about Optiver is staying there for the whole 10 years, which is a lot by trading standards. Like, yeah, staying in a trading company for 10 years without moving anywhere, but 10 years is a lot. I was like second or third oldest trader on the floor by the time I left. So I think I should have left maybe like 2-3 years earlier, but it's like still easier said than done, because especially like if you're in the same place for a long time, it's much harder to leave because you're much less certain about what to do next. But in general, like another thing that I think I should have done like more initially is just, again, like even if you're in a, well, not necessarily corporate environment, but like in a trading company environment, for instance, you should really like push yourself to, well, basically try as many things as possible. For me, it was kind of tough. Well, I don't know, it's maybe an excuse, but I was like, and still is quite an introverted person, so it was like very tough, like to speak up or like coming out of my comfort zone in a lot of ways for the first few years. But yeah, like if I would give an advice to my old self, would be try to get out of your comfort zone as much as possible.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. I think as interns, eventually, we're going to get past that barrier. Sorry, did I say interns? I meant introvert.
Very good. Fraser, you can always just apply for Intermute, so that could be a play. Awesome. So let me remove the pin there. Let's go back to the written question. So what do you think of Uni v3 and its impact on the crypto markets and crypto market making?
Right. I think it's going to be really interesting to experiment to see what happens, because like I was very skeptical from the onset about Uniswap v2. I proved to be, I guess, wrong because of how successful it turned out to be. Because initially I thought, okay, just like it's passive market making, it's just bound to lose money. But given just how much flows, I know we're going a bit technical here, but basically, yeah, if there is enough two-sided flow, then even Uniswap v2 can be quite successful. Uniswap v3 is resembling much more the central order book models from traditional markets. We are currently experimenting with it on, well, starting an experiment with it on Arbitrum, on one of the L2 solutions. We cannot like share yet our experience with it because it's like still really, really early in the process. But I'm cautiously excited about how it will work, because it's interesting. It's like it's a new concept. I like playing with new things. I'm more interested like how many new features they will add, because there are only like 2-3 parameters you currently can play with. But yeah, going forward, I think as they make it more and more complex, and yeah, who knows, it has a potential to disrupt like central order book models, which I'm not a very big fan of at the end of the day, because of all this like latency games and like I don't know, this micro nanoseconds games that you end up doing if you stick too much to the central order books.
Very good. I don't really understand. Okay, let's do this question. What's Wintermute's trading position stance on EPIP 1559? Bullish, bearish? I don't know if you can say anything there.
Yeah, neutral-ish, I guess. I don't know. I'm not that hardcore Ethereum fan to. Like I am a fan of Ethereum, but not that hardcore. So I don't know. To me, it's neutral. Our DeFi team is probably a bit bullish, but yeah, I don't know. Time will tell. No opinion, I would say. Yeah.
What do you think of kind of layer 2 versus kind of alternative chains? Which is more likely to kind of take off?
Again, I don't know, but that's primarily because I really don't know, because you have so many side chains. You have like you have Ethereum, you have other EVM compatible chains like Polygon or Binance Smart Chain, which are like cheaper. We have all this like scaling solution, layer 2 solutions on top of it, which can also work just fine, like this DYDX is working really just fine. And you have like other chains like Solana, for instance, which is being pushed really aggressively by like Alameda and FTX, and has like really a lot of investment behind it, and it's basically a super performance chain. So I would say only time will tell. It's kind of a question. I think it's a bigger question is like whether they'll be like winner take it all, or whether some of them will just coexist together. And that's the question about like, yeah, just how successful the network effects will be, and like how significant they will be, or maybe there will be like 2, 3 chains or 4 chains coexisting, and then maybe they'll be geographical based, maybe they will be, I don't know, access based. Yeah, only time will tell. I don't have like a strong answer to this. I'm like, from individual position, I'm basically just long everything. That makes sense.
Very good. Next question here. Do you trade crypto yourself? And if so, do you have a philosophy that you follow? It's an interesting way of putting it, Camille. Yeah, do you trade crypto yourself, and to what extent?
Yes, I do. I'm I'm a pretty horrible day trader. Like, I know it. I learned my lesson in 2017 already. So because of that, like, my philosophy is basically just buy and hold, I guess, and that's it. Like, I did do a bit of, like, I don't know, I would say even gambling with Dogecoin, but that was it. Like, I had a lot of fun with it. But all serious investment, just buy and hold, and forget about it pretty much, because yeah, my like personal targets are really, really high. So yeah, but when I have spare cash, I basically buy crypto and just hold it. But I do have like certain concentration limits against the other portfolio, well, rest of the portfolio, because I have some equity, I have some real estate. So yeah, I'm trying to keep it all kind of balanced.
Very nice. Question here: if 2021 was 2018, is 2022 going to be 2019?
Well, again, not investment advice. I personally think it's going to be basically just really quiet summer, and it's for multiple reasons. Like, market got overheated, I think, like last couple of months, and I think like now people are, I don't know, going out. COVID is kind of receding, like restrictions are easing, so people have probably more time for going out and actually like enjoy time with their friends. I don't know, go on some vacation trips for those outside UK. And in traditional markets are also actually really, really sleepy in the summer. Summer is like one of the most boring times to be in traditional finance, so traditional market. So I think like my bet is it's just going to pick up again in like August or September, and we'll see like a new wave.
Very nice. Next question from Javier here. Does Wintermute only trade on Ethereum DeFi protocols, or do you also look at newer protocols such as ones built on Solana?
Yeah, so we are currently on Ethereum and a bunch of other like EVM compatible like side chains or blockchains. We are looking at Solana very closely. We are not on it yet, but I would say we will be there. We are basically we are evaluating. I would say, like, it's in our top 2 at the moment to expand it.
Excellent. Okay. Next one. Would you ever consider doing a hackathon?
Yes. So that's kind of like ties in with our like idea of starting create, like, because currently we're primarily using other people's protocols, especially when it comes to DeFi. We'll be quite keen to start building missing links as well, and also we're actually seriously considering sponsoring hackathons to solve some of the problems that we see in the space. And so I would say, like, yeah, I'll keep you guys posted on that.
Very good. Maybe we'll see an Encode Wintermute hackathon at some point. Excellent. Next one, Eduardo here. What is your take on more refined quant trading strategies, e.g. incorporating ML, alternative data, etc., in the HFT space? Does you mean NFT space? Oh, high frequency trading. Okay, fine. Yeah, in the HFT space. Yeah.
I mean, you kind of have to do it. Like, it's you kind of get away for some time with with just market making, take like aggregating order books from all the exchanges, but at some point you do need to take some more advanced signals from other like related products, or take into account, well, some machine learning even. Yeah, I mean, you have to do it. Like, if you want to be the top dog, you have to do it.
Yes. Will ETH2 sharding make layer 2s irrelevant?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm just gonna say I don't know.
That is a good one. Do you believe that crypto trading should have regulations concern. I don't know what you've said there, Camille, but I'm going to change your question around. So particularly in the UK, what do you think of the kind of state of crypto regulation? You mentioned earlier that you kind of feel that everything is too intrusive, but A, what do you think of the UK, and B, what do you think the ideal regulation should be of crypto?
Ideal, I guess, no regulation, and that's more like my libertarian self, coming back again to people making their own choices and stuff. Regulation in UK, it's not overly intrusive yet, I guess, but look, we are currently registering with FCA for the purposes of our OTC business, and it is one hell of a process. It does take us a lot of time, and does take other companies a lot of time. It's not pleasant. I kind of understand why we have to do it. I understand that they don't want us, well, first of all, I don't know, to service people from, I don't know, North Korea or something, or terrorists. But at the same time, like, personally, I think the price we pay as a society to prevent those kind of money from flowing into the system is basically too much compared to just overall inefficiency it creates. So I would say my preference would be zero regulation in general.
Very good. What do you look for when hiring, says Jeffrey?
I would say owner mentality, general drive, being interested in what we're doing, like not necessarily like super hardcore hard skills, because we put on, like, we are fine with people learning on the job. But yeah, you just need to put enough effort into it, demonstrate this effort, and be basically, I don't know, be ready to embrace this 24/7 aspect of things, for instance. And I guess, like, trust us, because we will have to trust you as well. And this trust is, like, a lot of things, is very important for us as a company, because it's blockchain. Like, despite, like, basically we do have all kinds of controls in place, but still it's cryptocurrency. It's much easier to, like, do damage to the company in series. So yeah, there's a lot of trust going around as well.
Very good. And we'll take one more question from chat and then go to George to finish up on the questions. Where do you see Wintermute in 5 years time, says David, and what keeps you up at night? That could be a crypto or a non-crypto question. Take it however you want.
Yeah, 5 years is a long time.
I know.
I would say, yeah, like in crypto especially. So I would say I probably see us, I don't know, if I would compare, it wouldn't even be Optiver, it would be like Jump Trading or Citadel or something like that. So I would say we will definitely expand into traditional markets, definitely doing a lot of different things to what we are doing now. Hopefully building more and more in DeFi space, and I don't know, maybe become an investment bank. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. Like 5 years is a long time. What keeps me awake at night is, I guess, like one thing that was super tough for me personally over the last years, just like you have this top players, and especially in the market making space, both in crypto and beyond, and like we grew a lot, but we're still catching up with them, and basically continuously saying what else we can do, where else we need to grow, like how fast we can hire people, not to dilute culture, like basically, and whether, like, on one hand, whether we're moving fast enough, but on the other hand, whether we are like not moving too fast to like do too many crazy things and just like lose control of all of it at once. So yeah, I guess typical issues for growing companies here, I guess.
Excellent. Go on, George. George from our team, George himself also founded the Leeds University Blockchain Society. So we have some student links there. So George, do you want to give us our final question of the day?
Yeah, thank you very much, Evgeny. It's been a fantastic talk. And I wanted to come back to something you said earlier on, which is that kind of market makers make more money when it's volatile. And obviously on your website, you're partnered with loads of the top exchanges, but a lot of the kind of lower cap altcoins trade on other exchanges, such as, say, PancakeSwap. And I was wondering, would it be feasible for an institutional AMM to kind of operate on an exchange such as PancakeSwap?
So what do you mean by institutional AMM?
So like yourself, like a large player in the space, be able to operate on a kind of exchange that's smaller or has kind of less liquidity?
Yep, potential. Like we do work with a lot of projects on the market making side in general. So like we do try to list them in as many venues as possible, because just like it's really in general quite good for liquidity and for price discovery. So where possible, we do try that. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you very much, George. I think that kind of neatly brings us to the end of the event. I think we're nicely inside the hour. Evgeny, this has been absolutely fantastic, and different kind of point of view. So that we typically kind of have founders of like DeFi protocols, and they have a very specific kind of builder mindset, and I think you know the mindset I'm kind of talking about. So it's nice to kind of take a step back and go for the people that are kind of making the industry really run, or at least providing the liquidity. And I think your outlook is obviously a very kind of different one, and a refreshing one, if I may say. And particularly your journey and your experiences are something I've learned a lot from tonight, and I'm hoping, I'm sure the audience as well. So thank you very much for being with us today.
No, thanks a lot for having me, and like I really enjoyed all the questions. Thanks a lot, guys.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for coming. Final things from me: video and transcript will go up in, let's say, a week, 10 days or so, depending on how quickly we do it, and do all the editing and stuff. Just kind of final plug for me, if you're not part of the Encode Discord, please do join it. And George will put the final links there, and keep a kind of track of everything that we're doing. If you want to get involved, if you want to know about blockchain, if you are completely new to blockchain, we have a coding academy starting in August. If you want to do a hackathon, there's a hackathon happening right now. You can still register for that, and hopefully there'll be Wintermute events as well coming up, hackathons, and I know there's lots of positions, and Kat has put some links in there. So lots of opportunities for you all to get involved in the Wintermute ecosystem and the Encode ecosystem as well. For now, everyone, that brings us to 6:30. Thank you very much for coming this evening, and see you all soon. And Evgeny, thank you very much for coming, and Kat, thank you for organising this as well. So much appreciated all, and see you all soon.